Q&A. I see it. Okay, Sven, I see the Q&A, so that's what I will be focusing on. Hi, Sven. Sven just commented. Sven's from the Northwest Animation Festival in Portland.
Welcome.
Okay. And Josh is here. Alan's here. All right. Great. Okay. So,
Jody.
Yes. All right, are we ready to start?
yeah, so we want to get started. I'm Kristen McCracken, and I'm going to introduce Anne Chaisson from the Hamptons International Film Festival. If you were at the, we're gonna go around the room and kind of say who's here. And Anne, do you want to ask some questions to start? Kind of like what you'd like each person to say.
Sure. I'll just give a little bit of a background. We did roundtables about sponsorships at this year's Art House Convergence, and clearly it's a very large subject, which many people have a lot of interest in, and so we did it twice at the Art House Convergence. And so while we will definitely be recapping what we talked about there, we certainly still want this to be an open conversation back and forth, because we would like your specific questions to be answered. So please make sure you do those, and Kristen can relay those to the group when those happen. But I just wanted to first have everyone let us know how large your festival is, meaning what kind of revenue you have, so we know. I want to make sure that I'm covering the very small festivals as well as large festivals, but I'm not quite sure who's on the call. If everyone could do that, and Kristen can relay that information to us first, that would be great.
Yep. So if you guys are going to write in the Q&A part, the answer to question, if you could just say what festival and what the size of your budget is. So Josh Leek is here, and he's from Portland, and he has $100,000 budget. Dawn Smallman's here from the Portland Echo Film Festival. I'm not sure, she hasn't said her budget yet. Okay, no one's doing it. Oh, Lisa Vandiver from Cinekink, and hers is under 50,000. Northwest Animation Fest, the budget, that's Sven, he's under 20,000, it's quite small. Alan Lefebvre is from Hell's Half Mile Film and Music Festival, which is lately about 30 to 40K. And then the Milwaukee Film Festival, which is 1.9 million.
Okay, could we make sure that they're telling us their operating budget and not the number of dollars they're looking to raise? I just want to make sure we're all talking about the same number. Meaning the money, your revenue each year.
Okay, if that's different than what you've said, then go ahead and write it again. No one's writing anything, so.
Okay, so, and the 1.9 million was which festival again? I apologize.
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee,
And
great.
Alan says that's his operating budget.
Okay, great. Okay, so good. So then maybe we should focus more on the smaller and regional versions of film festivals, as well as talk about how to possibly interact with national brands in some way, even though you are a small festival. So we do have a PowerPoint that we will go through. I guess we'll just start that. Kristen, thank you.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, so in beginning your sponsorship endeavor each year, the first thing, of course, that anyone needs to do is figure out what kind of a budget are you looking to raise? I mean, what do you need in order to meet your goals? What's realistic is also very important. Sometimes boards assume, oh, we're a film festival, people always invest in film. And if your operating budget is $100,000, someone would say, well, we should be able to raise the entire budget with sponsorship fees. And unfortunately, that isn't very realistic. So it's understanding what your festival can attract, how it can attract it, and how to sustain it and hold it, which hopefully will help you to grow in future years, not just with your sponsorship dollars, but with everything you've done. I always say it's a really great idea to look at festivals around the country that are comparable to your festival. Look at the companies that they're working with. Look and see what kinds of opportunities they've been able to parlay for their festivals. I often find when, especially in the beginning, when I was looking for help or information, that I would just email the director of development or the festival director and just ask them some questions. Most people are willing to share. And wonderfully, we have this beautiful IFP Festival Forum group. And so you've got lots of friends to ask any questions you need at any time. Myself and Jody and Kristen are on the executive committee. There are several more of us, but we would certainly welcome any interaction that you would like. So while we'll go through this here, please chime in whenever you really want to say something. So
I just want to say one more thing. James James is here from Shorts That Are Not Pants, which is a great title. Shorts That Are Not Pants in Toronto, and they're a quarterly short film series, and the budget's probably less than $5,000 for the whole year. So that's pretty micro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shorts that are not pants. I love that as well. Okay, so first off, doing your research, look at comparable festivals and who's supporting those festivals and how, and then also looking at what else is in your region, who's already supporting those festivals that may be on your target list, because national brands are unlikely, doesn't mean it's always the case, but they're unlikely to cover another festival within the same region, but certainly within the same town or city. But you should look around to see who's out there. And knowing that they're already doing that is very important too. Even if you decide it's still worth going to them. For example, you might have a very large utility company or cable company in your area, and they already support a film festival. That shouldn't stop you from going to them again, but you should already know what they do support and explain why it's important for them to now support your festival as well, understanding what you can offer them. So, Kristen, we should go to the next slide.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying. There we go.
Okay, and so after doing your research, I think it's very important for you to know, and you probably already know this since you already have a film festival, but who is your audience? What is the demographic? What makes them unique from any other audience of any other, say, a film festival that's happening in your region, or even other kinds of festivals, music festivals, cultural events. If you are very targeted and your demographic is, the sweet spot of 18 to 24, that will completely distinguish you from, say, your local museum's outreach and who their audience is. So it's very important, especially to brands, that they understand who you target and who attends your events. Also understanding, conversely, when you are talking to a sponsor or a brand, that you understand who their audience is. So if their audience is not your audience, it's not likely that you'll be able to get money from them. It's got to be a copacetic scenario. Also, this is kind of broad, but how can sponsors help you improve the audience experience? In so many different ways. Sponsors bring many things to the table outside of cash, which or gifts, if it's a retail company or some sort of any kind of brand you can think of. They may give you hats, they may give you pens, they may give you candles, they may give you certificates, percentages off of things. It just helps the experience better if you have past buyers and they get a nice little bag with a bunch of little gifts in it. That's really nice. Other ways are within your screenings, your opening night or monthly or whatever your frequency may be. Sometimes you can get a local electronics company, even if it is a big brand, to donate a digital camera or I don't know, an iPad, whatever it may be. And you can do little surprise things at events that you do by putting a little card under one of the seats. And then when when everyone sits down, or at the end at the Q&A, say, stay for the Q&A and you'll see there's something special that's going to happen. Other things you can do is if you have local businesses in and around the screening area where you are, you can ask them to host an event, a surprise event. So let's say it's one of your most popular films in late afternoon one day, and you can tell everyone right after the film that, or right before the film begins, that after the film, cross the street and go to XYZ restaurant or XYZ retail, and there's going to be hors d'oeuvres and drinks. Or if you shop there, you can get a 20% discount, which some of that money goes back to you if the sponsor is willing to help you if you're a nonprofit. The way sponsors can help you appeal to a different crowd. That one's a little bit more difficult. Because you're looking for sponsors with like demographics, that doesn't mean that sometimes you could, a sponsor may want to jump off the reputation you have with your brand and try to appeal to their demographic or increase their demographic, so they could actually be bringing their people into you who wouldn't normally come to your event. I hope that made sense. Did that?
I think it makes sense.
Okay. If anyone's asking questions, please make sure to ask questions if you need me to slow down, please. Okay, I guess we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, so, okay.
Okay, and what can you offer sponsors? And I tend to say that this is the area that has the most potential, and we'll spend probably the longest time discussing. First of all, you have to decide what you're offering sponsors. What is it that you're going to give them? Is it something that's year-round? Is it something for a particular festival? Is it something for one particular event or a party or an award that they're going to sponsor? You can slice and dice sponsorship in 100 different ways if you feel you have that many different kinds of things to offer. Also, it's a little bit different in terms of what they're looking for. So they could want to be a presenting sponsor over everything that you have, or they're just interested in putting their logo on something, or they want to name a venue, or they want their name on that backdrop, the step and repeat, when you have a red carpet and people are arriving because they feel that's where they're going to get the most exposure. They only want your high net worth clients, and so they want a private event where they're an exclusive brand, an alcohol or a watch, or your local private, high net worth client section of the local bank. Do they want their name, front and center and lights all over your advertising? Or do they only want eyeballs to see their logo? It's something that you'll have to talk through pretty lengthy with the potential sponsor. Here's some other ideas that I think are here. Advertising online in the program, in the catalog, like what are you willing to offer and what aren't you willing to offer, and what do those things cost?
We have something called I don't know if we want to talk about the sponsor block. I'm assuming most people know what that is, but
we should. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't have a visual aid, I'm sorry, but most film festivals on their website, as well as a physical catalog, will put together a sponsor block, and these are your official sponsors for the festival or event that has the corresponding levels. Many festivals decide to do that box differently. Sometimes they're all black and white. Sometimes they're all the same size. Sometimes they're in color. Sometimes the higher sponsor you are, the larger the logos are. Again, this is something that you can look through research-wise online to all the film festivals that you feel are comparable in size to you, or you can look at larger festivals and say, this is what we aim to be. Let's start doing it this way now, and that should be a good place to start.
And you can also have it on the screen in the theaters before when people are coming into the theaters. Have it on. That's a nice. People like to see that too.
Right, absolutely. Again, it's limitless. A car sponsor probably wants to have your name and their name on the cars that actually bring VIPs around. So the experience would be, I'm Joe, attendee of a film festival. I get to your festival, I see signage everywhere. I kind of know who's your presenting sponsor because it's on 1 or 2 or 3 things that I've already encountered getting to your festival. I register, I get a bag that has some sort of items corresponding to my reason for being there, whether I'm industry or a filmmaker or a board member or a sponsor. Within that, there's usually a catalog, and within the catalog, there'll be a sponsor logo page fairly up front in that book to give them the most attention. And then let's say you look and you say, oh, great, there's a film starting right now, and you go straight to the theater, you walk into the theater, there's signage everywhere, usually a poster with your sponsors on it and any other pertinent information, how to do social media, or there's a name over the door of that particular theater with a sponsor's name on it. When you walk into the screening room and you find your seat, you'll realize that the name of the section or the name of the film will be on screen with the sponsor who's sponsoring that particular film. When the film begins, or when the event begins, someone will introduce a film, introduce a filmmaker. There'll be a festival trailer, and on that trailer, again, your sponsors will appear, and then the movie will begin. Typically in the intro, at our festival anyway, there's always a certain number of people, certain number of leveled sponsors that are thanked. Always a presenting sponsor. Sometimes we go to the next level to thank 2 or 3 sponsors. Sometimes we don't, it depends on the year. And always the sponsor of that particular event. I think maybe, I forgot the step and repeat on the red carpet. If it's a red carpet screening, there would be logos probably on the step and repeat on the way in. And sometimes of certain levels, a sponsor gets their own 10 to 15 to 30 second advertising piece before your film festival reel plays. Have I covered all of them, Kristen?
The only other thing I'm thinking about social media too, that you can promise them to give shout outs about certain events that they're covering. Make sure that you mention them on, with thanks on social media. That's a good thing that's a free thing to do, for them.
Exactly. It doesn't hurt you as long as it's integrated into the content in some way. You're not just pushing a product for them. You're saying, and here's a photo of so-and-so arriving in such and such car, our sponsor this year, or I don't know, you have better ways of doing it. Kristen, this is your
right. You say things like, if you have a beer sponsor, you're like, everyone's having a great time tonight. Thanks, Heineken, whatever. Those are kind of things that you can,
Yes.
They're casual, they're inserts. They're not like, it doesn't feel like an ad so much. But
right. And it goes a long way. We put together sponsor wrap reports at the end of the festival, and we will put every single solitary item, a photo of those items within that report, showing them where their logo or their name or the interaction with social media occurred. And it's really a nice, all-encompassing sort of report. So they really understand that you are keeping track of this. You do know what their needs were, making sure their needs were met. If you have to make checklists before the festival, that's a good idea too.
And one thing that I do ahead of time too is that I come up with like a social media one sheet, which I've shared on the website from our takeaways from Art House Convergence. It's on there, a one sheet with all the ways the sponsor can connect with us on social media, and it also kind of lists what we will do for them. So that's a nice thing to do ahead of time, so they're aware of it. But that was
so they can alert their own social media teams that this will be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any questions in terms of this or anything you want to add? You guys might have really great ideas of things that I'm not even mentioning at this point. We do have more to talk about, but this was just a laundry list of things that you can offer at this moment.
Yeah, I wanted to add one thing.
Sure.
And this, I'm based in Washington, D.C., so this happens more frequently. But I think that anywhere where you have your local and your state politicians, if your festival is near where they are, there are a lot of pockets of money in government relations budgets that are not as lengthy to get or anything like that. But if you have events with your local elected leaders, even if they're coming to a party or something like that, that can sometimes be very attractive to corporate sponsors who won't have the community relations budget to sponsor, but can give up some, kind of quick government relations money just because they're getting to interact with their congressman or local leader or whatever. So that's something else that you can consider.
That's a great idea.
There are a couple of questions. One thing someone asked about local versus regional versus national. I think we're going to get to that in a little bit and how to figure out what's what. I know that's on a later slide. And Josh, the one sheet is on the website at IFP Festival Forum. There's a takeaways page from the Art House Convergence, and there are one sheets on there that I put up. There's also notes from all the roundtables. So, and then Lisa asked, do you recommend bundling sponsor benefits in levels like gold and silver, et cetera? She says, I've been reading advice not to, but not sure how to organize otherwise. So I think we'll probably get to that.
We're going to get to that soon as well. Yes. Can we go to the next slide?
Mm-hmm. Thanks. I'm trying.
Oh, sorry.
Why it takes so long. There.
I'm scared you can't hear me occasionally.
No, I can. It's okay.
Okay. So before we get to that, we're just talking, this slide is about what can a sponsor offer you, which of course, it's not always cash, but you should always try to get cash first, because we all know how our operational budgets are, and there are things that cost us money. And so it's very important that you always try to be as bold as you possibly can, but always try to get a cash within an offer for sponsors. Clearly, they can help reduce your bottom line by offering things in kind, travel, cars, hotel rooms, hospitality, free space, etc. Never discount what barter you can do for media support. It's all very important. Your local radio stations, your local cable access channels. If you're in a larger market, broadcast media, PBS. There's many, and also if your community has a it's .com. So for example, we have Hamptons.com that has a listing and talks about all the local events that are happening at all times, and we're always listed in those kinds of sections. And your local newspaper, of course. Someone during the Art House Convergence mentioned that your local channel, your local PBS channel, and any cable access channels are required to provide nonprofits with some airtime. It's part of their PSA, public service announcement budgets. So always make sure you ask about that and see if there's any space for you within the allotted time that they have, that they save some for you, or how do you get into it? How soon do you have to ask? Really important that you know that that's out there. Also, of course, sponsors can, like we were talking about before, sponsors can get you access to their demographic, or even if it's your demographic, maybe it's someone who doesn't know about your event, so they can get, that's a way that you can get more audience into your festival through their big e-blast list or their website. Always try to be on your sponsor's website. And certainly hope that they will support you as you will support them in their social media strategy. And another thing is that they may come to you with something that is a unique event that helps your audience experience something different. Share something from last year that my development manager able to get. The Showtime show, The Affair, premiered right after our festival, or the day after. I'm not quite sure exactly when, but Vogue contacted us because they had a pretty hefty ad buy from Showtime for the show, and because the show was shot in which is in the Hamptons, they wanted to do a preview of the first 2 episodes at the film festival. So it was really a beautiful melding of something that was shot there, something that was about to come out, a magazine that had money to spend, and a big brand that was happy to have their logo affiliated with the festival. So there's one particular event. And even though it wasn't film, it was television, it made sense for our community and our audience. And they were the right demographic for the show even. So it was a great, perfect storm. So I guess we can go to the next one, Kristen.
So can I just say one thing? One thing that I remember doing at Tribeca was the liquor brands really wanted to like get involved with, I always said I just didn't want to say have a Stoli. That's not the kind of social media that we would put, but if they created something like, so Stoli went out and created a map of places to get a drink after or before the movies at Tribeca, and they made this pretty PDF. They did it all. All I did was share it out, but that was like a great way to talk about Stoli, but also it was a benefit for the audience. So anything that you can do that's free, that's a benefit, for your audience is great.
I'm sorry, what was the PDF again? What did they create exactly?
Stoli Vodka created a list. They made a map of places to get a drink near the different theaters.
Yeah.
And they went and talked to the bars and had them make a Tribeca cocktail that was like a special or something. So it was all kind of tied in. But that was, something we came up with together with how we could mention Stoli on social media a lot without being like, just have a drink tonight, have a vodka, without, it was a real benefit, it was a benefit, and people downloaded that PDF a lot. So that was a cool thing.
That's amazing. And sometimes there are apps out there that may be local or they may be national, but they might be willing to work with you to do sort of the same thing, but highlight your community, meaning usually those apps are pretty geared towards major metropolitan areas. But if you can explain to them why it's important for your community and it'll help them do something with their own app, they could actually highlight that community with a couple of restaurants or a couple of places to get cocktails, whatever it may be. But there might be some good synergy there, and it could increase your audience based on whomever their audience is, which is usually foodies, but that doesn't mean foodies are necessarily film fans. But we know filmmakers love to eat, so we like to know where to go when we're in a community that we don't know. So it's nice to have something that tells you.
There's another thing that Tribeca did a couple years ago that was they had Heineken pick 3 movies that were like cool kind of hip movies, and they had extended Q&As at a bar next to the theater. So like instead of a Q&A in the theater, everyone went to the bar and they had free Heineken. I mean, this is like pie in the sky, but it's very cool. So they had everyone kind of standing around. There was a Heineken, screen behind the Q&A happening, and everyone had a very social event. It was cool. Again, not cheap, but Heineken paid for it, so it worked.
And you never know, sometimes the local bar or a local restaurant is willing to support you for an hour or 45 minutes or even 2 hours by offering the first drink free, and you can do the Q&A there, and they're happy you've brought people in, and you're happy that you've ordered something special for your audience.
And they might stay and have dinner. I mean, if they weren't, yeah, so.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I think we should go to the next. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here are ways to look at potential sponsors for yourself. Finding out categories that make sense for you. Is there something that's a natural fit for your program, for a particular film, for your theme? If you are, an environmental festival or whatever festival you may be, it's ways to look at those categories of sponsors that fit within your event. So from that, this Kristen, this is not the one that has the levels on it, right? This is a different kind. These are just kinds of sponsors locally. So you should know that there are local sponsors, regional sponsors, and national sponsors. And you should always, again, after doing your research and looking at your size and the comps of all the other festivals and events in your area and where you are, decide if a national sponsor is something you should be going for. They're the hardest to get. It takes a lot of time, and it's important to know that you have local and regional sponsors that you can still get things from. Not always cash, but a lot of the times it could be, as Jody was saying, regional governmental money or state money, whatever, by inviting certain types of legislators. It helps up your focus, and then it helps for you to possibly access that kind of cash maybe in the next year. I already talked about the local cable company and the PSA time, and it is certainly very important also to talk with your chambers of commerce and become members of the chambers of commerce. many people do look to those places to find out, especially people who move to the area, people who are visiting the area. And it's just a good place for you to get information out. And then for larger festivals and some other festivals, if you're an international festival and you have people coming from countries all over the world, don't forget embassies and consulates. Even if you are far away from a major area like New York that has embassies and consulates, I can tell, Los Angeles has them. There are sister cities throughout the country that are partners to a particular country. Kristen, were any of those in those notes? We talked about this during the art house conversion, but I think if you just look it up online, I'm pretty sure that information is readily available. But if you need help, you need help getting filmmakers to your festival from particular countries. I don't care where you are. I would still try to call a consulate or an embassy, because they're looking for ways to promote their country all over our country. It's not just in the major metropolitan areas. So it's important that you know that help is there. That doesn't mean it's always going to work out or they're able to, but you should certainly reach out. It's worth it because they do have cash.
And consulates are regional. So even if a consulate's in Chicago, it might have a 4-state area. So that they're looking for cultural events to support for sure. And if they can fly in, if they can fly in your filmmaker and put them in a hotel, and you put a little logo on the film page on your website, everyone's happy, I think.
Yes. Or a shout out, or on the screen, or a thank you in front of the theater, or they might even want to do an event at your festival. Based on that, we've had great luck with the UK and their great campaign that they had for a couple of years. We would bundle our UK films and events, and they would come and they would bring people and they would throw a party. So you just never know what someone's willing to do. So let's go to the next slide.
Okay, so Alan says that something to offer is a strong sponsor who owns a few restaurants in the footprint of our festival offered us free event packages in one of their party rooms that we can offer to larger sponsors. A great way for a sponsor to give something that keeps their cost down but has a larger perceived value. True.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. I'm doing too many things.
Oh, wait, and I'll talk real quick about, sorry.
Okay.
There was someone who shared, who may be on this call, the story about their local Canon, it's not an affiliate branch. What was the name of the company? Anyhow, they had been trying to get Canon nationally for their festival for a really long time, and figured out that the state Canon rep company within their state was in their town. So they just went straight to the retail operation and said, I want Canon to sponsor my filmmaker lounge, and I'd like to put up cameras, and I want people to be able to, filmmakers to be able to interact and look at those cameras and touch and feel. And Canon went for it and gave them something like the regional branch gave them something like $15,000. So look around for anything sort of film related that might have a touch and feel opportunity within your region, because there is certain money that can help there.
Yeah, I just noticed that the Montclair Film Festival announced their speaker series yesterday. It's in the Audible Lounge, which I was, thinking, I wonder if they're going to make those conversations available to listen to, as like podcasts or something. I don't know. I was going to ask Tom Hall about it, but that sounded
sounds amazing. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just writing that down, of course. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, initial outreach. So it's important to identify who on your team is responsible for outreach for sponsors. Some of you are quite small, so I'm assuming it's you. But I don't want you to ever think that you are necessarily alone. If you're a nonprofit, you have a board. Ostensibly, you're working with someone, the local theater or the local art house or the local university or the local school, whomever it may be that you're bringing this to your local community. Meet with those who are people who reach out to sponsors in those areas and ask if they will help you. Ask for contacts. Ask if there's ways that you can partner with them in some way that maybe you bring to the table that they don't do, and vice versa. But just make sure you realize that you're never alone. You should certainly be able to connect with everyone in your area, in your region, to help you get this off the ground and make it work. And from that, you should be able to find some potential contacts and sponsors. Here's where we talk about regional sponsors and national sponsors. And, you know, all sponsors, I think, make sense for everyone. It's just, who are those sponsors? What are those brands? It brings you back to that research and understanding what can help you. I'll give you another example from our end. We luckily have a travel agency, which is an international travel agency, but they are the ones who help us get our airline sponsor. We don't go to the airline directly. It comes through someone who's on our board who owns a travel agency. Maybe that's a possibility for you. Maybe there's a local travel agency that is part of a larger brand, and maybe they get a certain number of comps for some reason that they can use to help other organizations within the area. It's just important to have those relationships and find out if there's anything that you can work out that way. Also, small helicopter companies or regional jet companies that do private charters. You never know what they're looking for or if it's something that can work for you. I feel like I'm talking about kind of larger scenarios, but all of those people, even the regional ones, have some sort of a relationship with the national version of whatever that may be. So don't be afraid to start small and then give a great experience. And then hopefully they will talk to their marketing team or their publicity team or the brand team and say what a great thing this would be for everyone to get involved.
And is it worth going online and looking up, is it worth going online and looking up like major companies and who their marketing people are and just calling them? Or is that just
Absolutely. I always start with publicity for a very simple reason. Publicity typically lists their names and their emails, because once they put a press release out, people have to know whom to contact. So if you're having a hard time, these are usually for national brands. If you're having a hard time finding or getting emails or a contact, say for a very large brand, you can usually find something online that'll help you understand who the person is in publicity, who could possibly help you. Sometimes everything comes from PR, or they'll send you to marketing or send you to branding. But we've certainly had luck doing it that way before. But to talk about one of the local and regional sponsors, and many of you I'm sure have had these conversations before, but the car sponsor is the most difficult, the most tricky, but the most accessible. And I say that because your local dealer of, say, Lincoln, for example, or Ford, they have say-so pretty much to the regional and to the national brand, because most car companies are part of a dealership alliance of some sort. So any of these opportunities that come, they're trying to help all the dealers in the region. They're never going to give national money to just one local dealership. It's just not how they work. But the national team does have money for the regional area. So they are potentially going to help out, say, the tri-state area in New York, because they hope that people are coming to your event from all these different areas. Sometimes if you're a long enough event, you can actually give a dealer spotlight per day at your festival. So maybe it's all Ford, but Ford, Abrams Ford gets one day and Smith Ford gets the second day, and so Ford. It just depends on where the money comes from. And a lot of the time, even your local dealer may have a little bit of cash, but they will usually help you out with cars in some way. So they can, have their brands front and center, and they usually have a fleet or two or one or some kind of cars if you need to get people around in some kind of way that they can help you out with. I've seen really small festivals be able to do it, and I've seen very large festivals do it with a regional and a local dealership, not necessarily the national brand. So don't always think that you have to go up to national. It's not always the case.
What other categories are similar to that you can think of that would be things for people to check out that would be really useful? I mean, like hotels. I mean,
hotels for sure, for sure. We unfortunately don't have the luxury of having a national brand hotel, but definitely talk to your local
Hampton Inn.
Holiday Inn,
Yeah.
or whomever it may be in your locale that might want to help you. Usually it just comes directly from that particular hotel. You don't usually have to go to the national brand. They have the ability to make those deals. But depending on where you are, sometimes the national brand is trying to promote properties in other places to your particular demographic. So who knows? They may say, hey, we want to do a VIP lounge, so people who buy your high brand passes or your patrons can go and sort of see tons of information on, the Ritz in Bahrain or the Ritz in Hawaii or the Ritz in, wherever it may be, wherever they're trying to push. I know the New York lounge at Sundance has had lots of luck with that, with one particular brand who is just there. The only way into Sundance for them was to partner with the New York lounge and have a space where they were promoting very particular properties to the people who came in. So all sorts of interesting and different opportunities there. Any questions?
None yet. I mean, I was also just thinking about like just things, throwing it out, like banks are good to go to, right? And even like law firms, local law firms. I mean, there's a lot of like potential in your area that you could. I mean, maybe this is all very 101, but I don't know, something to think
about. It could be, but sometimes you don't think out of the box. I mean, doctors' offices, law firms was a very good one. That's why I said travel agencies. I had a local dentist.
I hear dentists are very supportive of films and festivals.
That's so funny. We also had, it came from our board member, but we had a board member whose friend created a certain kind of hearing aid. And you know how the multiplexes hand out certain things for hearing impaired? Well, he wanted people to be able to try out his product. So he gave us money, he got exposure with his brand, and he handed out his hearing aids.
Win-win.
Who would have thought 2 years ago?
So Josh Leek asks, what's your schedule for outreach? Do you do the same thing every year, or is it a year-round activity?
Year-round activity. Most brands, most companies do their planning for the year, the preceding year in the fall. A big challenge for us is that we're in the fall. So while we're pitching, while we're dealing with getting ready and talking to all the sponsors we already have for that particular year, we're pitching new ones and the ones we already have for the following year. So it's definitely a year-round endeavor. You can't hope to make, someone won't make decisions very fast. Barters are a lot faster than anything that has to do with cash. Government, any kind of government, anything, usually takes months. There's lots of different departments that have to approve these things. You want to get on someone's schedule basically the year or at least 9 months before your event is happening. So they know to prepare for it, to plan for it, to save you some money, to save you some space. So it's never too early to start reaching out. Honestly,
and you're probably going to mention this, but also try to negotiate a 2-year deal so that you don't have to do it every single year if you can. It's like some people don't even try, but sometimes you can, and at least you don't have to go through the same process.
And what about multi-year deals?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. You want that, right? You want that.
Oh, that would be amazing, but you have to be very careful about what you promise. Yes, you want multi-deals, but these smaller festivals could get bigger or smaller. So you have to make sure that you can fulfill what it is that you want to give them, because you want them to have a good experience. Sometimes they pay the least at the beginning and the most at the end. I would never go for that, because sometimes they'll break contract. Somebody could go out of business. You never know what's going to happen, but the range is up to you. I've had multiple things happen where they've come back to renegotiate for less money, but wanted exactly what we gave them the first year. And it just gets very uncomfortable at that point, because someone's never going to be happy. You won't be happy, and they won't be happy if they don't get exactly what they got the first year. So that's why you have to be very careful about what you give for the level that they come in. And the multiple year deals are rare. They are definitely the exception. They are not the norm. It's wonderful when you can make that happen. We've had some sponsors who've been with us for over 15 years, and it's never been a multi-year deal. That's how they want it, but we know they're going to come back. And we've discussed it, but it seemed to make sense for them and for us to keep it as a yearly scenario.
Okay, we still have a few more slides, and we don't have a whole lot of time, but we can go longer, but I just want to make sure.
Okay.
There's a question that says genre festivals can approach niche businesses as sponsors, but are there thoughts about how sci-fi / horror / animation folks can appeal to those broader categories of sponsors, like the banks and the dentists? Is that a possibility, do you think?
That's something I'd have to think about in terms of how to make that appeal. Clearly, content is always the option, meaning the content of a film, the subject matter of a film. Maybe there's a dentist or a lawyer who's the main character. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. And they're presented well, or they're not, or it's a satire. You never know what's going to appeal to someone. So it's basically in how you pitch it. Someone
just wrote family programming is a good idea, which is true. Like if you do some sort of like thing that kids can have, then maybe maybe the dentist they would want to come if it's an all ages thing, not so, R-rated. I don't know.
Of course. And there's always that. We always try to show some animations and some shorts that are animated. And in years past, we've shown, a pre-release of a large Disney or Pixar release. We've never gone to the local dentist to support it, but we've usually gone to them, specifically the distributor. But yeah,
the other thing, and this is a year-round programming too, and some people may already do that, is like developing programming for military families. And then there are often foundations or corporate initiatives that are already happening that are targeted to that segment, and you can build a program specifically to service that mission point.
Interesting. So Josh asked, what's the low-hanging fruit? I know we do need to go on to the other side, but
low-hanging fruit, does he mean in a local scenario? Just the local things that are easy to call, like your local media, your local businesses, your chambers of commerce, your local legislator, your local mayor, local organizations. I'm kind of recapping everything I've already said because I was trying to focus a little more.
No, I think we've been talking about the low-hanging fruit in general. I think that's fine.
Okay.
And then there's another question. How do you get yourself lined up to get the pre-releases that you just talked about? Is that just about connections and over time? Do you think you have to be a big festival to get that kind of thing?
I don't think so. I've known smaller festivals who were able to showcase some of those releases. I mean, almost with everything, it's a relationship situation, but you never know. And also don't forget that you don't necessarily need to do the pre-releases. Show something, a retrospective of something, a family film that everyone loves.
An anniversary screening or something like that, yeah.
You'd be surprised at how many people come out for those kinds of things. Everyone, people in our age range and below are looking to show their children what it was like to watch certain films in a movie theater, because they've at this point probably only seen them on their television. So the collective experience is still nice. We've done outdoor screenings of silent films with live music accompaniment, shown some Charlie Chaplin shorts. There's all sorts of things that you can do.
Right,
so it doesn't necessarily have to be the next big thing.
We have a couple more slides, so I want to try to get through them. So why don't we move on for now, and then we'll come back.
So in talking basically almost to anyone that you go out to, I don't care if it's regional or local, regional or national, when you're talking to them, it's not just about this is who we are and this is what we want to do and this is what we have. Ask them about themselves. So what does your year look like? What are the kinds of things you're looking to do for your brand or your company or your government or whatever it may be? Asking them about what they do, what kinds of things they support, what kinds of things, if they could dream, they'd like to be able to do, and whom it is that they're trying to get that message across to. Meaning you don't always have to say, I'm here because I want to do this, and this is how we do it, and I have this opportunity for you. Ask them about them, mostly. Ask them about what kinds of, if they do cash or only benefits, it's important to ask those questions. And then if you feel it's appropriate, say, let me take all of this in and let me tell you about who we are and who we'd like to be in 5 years, maybe, so they understand you as an organization, and then come back to them with a plan. At times you'll be able to feel out, if this is my only opportunity, I should just tell them right now what I want to do, but get them to know who you are and who you plan to be. That gets them buy-in to you as an event in their community or in their calendar, or they just need to know who you are as an organization and why it's important for the area that you're putting this event in. So coming back with the plan. So this is where we're kind of combine this slide and I think the next slide, but understanding what you're selling. Will you have levels? Or are you selling a premium spot, a presenting spot, a premium spot, a partner spot? Figuring out what those things are, what the benefits are. And the reason, I know someone asked about should you do levels or not. I find the reason that you want to do levels is it because of this second to last bullet point. You want to always be able to upsell, meaning if there's 4 levels and they see the bottom level is, they have to give $5,000 in cash and it only gives them their logo in the catalog. There are ways that you can say, well, yes, this is, the base of what that is. But if you do X, maybe if you give us $6,000 and I'll make sure to put your logos on X, Y, and Z, I can give you the level up from contributing to, I don't know, whatever the level would be. You want to give yourself a way that those levels are the basics, and you can help yourself by feeling like they'll feel like you're giving them something else above and beyond what you have listed on the page. That's the reason to have those. And a big point, aim high, always include cash. All they have to do is say no, but you're happy to take barters as well, but let them know that you are a nonprofit or you are just starting out or your budget is X. All of our staff is volunteer, like anything, so they understand that the cash is to help you run what it is you're trying to put together. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I did start to talk about this, carving up sponsorships. You want the sponsor to feel like they're a partner. You're working to help them create something within your organization or your festival that makes the most sense. While you're doing that, you're understanding how that's helping that sponsor make the most sense for your own goals as well. That's the background. They don't need to know that portion of it. They just need to know that you understand who they are, why it makes sense for them to be there, and help them the best way you can reach or give what it is they're looking for. That's the reason for a sponsorship, and that's what they want to hear. Set a time for your partnership. You personally have to figure out what your levels are, what those costs are. If you're all year long, do you want a presenting sponsor all year, or do you have a summer program that you can have a presenting sponsor, as well as a festival where you can have a presenting sponsor? These are all things you need to decide and take a look across what it is that you're offering, and write down again what those events and items are that are sponsorable, and make sure that they're all part of those levels. Give them every kind of option you can think of. I remember there was someone, Cucaloris Festival in North Carolina was talking at our roundtable at the Art House Convergence, and they give their sponsors, they're a year-round organization, so every sponsor gets, Spotlight Friday. So on that Friday night, whether it's an alcohol or a restaurant, or it's the local car dealer, or it's somebody big, every Friday that festival puts an event together and there's one sponsor that's highlighted. You can also do that with your e-blasts on social media, on your website. if there's a spot on your website and say today's featured sponsor is, put that logo there. Anything you can do that gives them a benefit that they understand that eyeballs will be seeing it are all good things to offer. We talked about firm level sponsorship and benefits, and balancing the value. That's always a challenge, to be perfectly honest, but you have to look at it from a budgetary standpoint. If you know you need X, Y, Z. I mean, we're 23 years old. Our festival still struggles with sponsorships. We get them and we do well, but we don't always do the same number every single year. But I know that I need a certain amount of money from sponsorships that are going to help me to pay for certain things each year, after my board dues or after my grant money comes in, or I know what my ticket and pass sales are. Sponsorship will never be 100% of your budget. It just won't. And you need to understand that. It's something that is a bit nebulous in terms of what certain people need for a certain year. So, while maybe somebody gets a watch company that has a watch that's named after their region, we had Baume & Mercier for several years because they came out with a Hamptons watch. That was amazing. And they came up with lots of money, but they did it for 2 years. So we couldn't rely on the fact that that particular money was going to come in every single year because it was a product-based situation. So it's knowing yourself and knowing that if I raise $20,000, that's enough. And I understand that the rest of it has to come from ticket sales or from grants or from other things that you do. But again, I can't stress enough that sponsorship will never be 100% of your budget. It just won't.
And when you ask someone to, I guess my question, well, at what point during the year do you ask people to re-up for next year? Like right after the festival? Or do people let you know right away? Or do they string you along for 6 months? How does it work?
All of the above.
Yeah.
We send out the wrap report, and within that wrap report, in the email that goes along with it, we say we can't wait to meet with you soon about next year. We know the festival just ended, but we hope to meet you in X, whether it's end of November, beginning of December. We actually put a date on there and then keep following up until A, they tell us they're not coming back, B, they meet with us to talk about what happened last year, and if and when we can do the following year. But yes, it is right after. Mm-hmm. Our development does not stop. It actually feels even busier after the festival than during and before sometimes.
How quickly do you send out wrap reports?
Within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're big and lengthy. I have a great team. Jordan Overstreet, if you're on this call.
Do you have a team working on that concurrently to the festival so that at the end it's done, or because that's really quick?
Well, you hope that that's how it is, but we've got these things all set up, so it's just plugging things in as well. It doesn't change so much from year to year. So you're changing a logo, you're adding new photos. The social media aspect probably takes more time of gathering all of that and putting in the report. All the press hits you get. We calculate all of our media impressions, ad impressions. We calculate all of that and add the articles if we can, especially if anyone is mentioned in an article. So it's just gathering all of that information really fast.
Would you be willing to share a wrap report template?
Yes. I think I promised that actually at Art House Convergence. So I just don't know. I just don't know. I think I need to make it a little more generic.
Yes.
I don't know, or I'd have to ask the sponsor if it's okay if I'm sharing that online. I don't know. I don't know if that's.
I made my documents. I kind of just went in and just kind of put generic names in, generic things in. But we can talk about that.
Maybe we'll just put an ABC company.
Right.
Make up a fake logo, ABC company, and superimpose it over some other stuff. So yeah, I'm very happy. It's quite extensive. And for some of these smaller festivals, you do not need to do that at all. You can do a one pager that states, show one picture of, their logo on, give them a catalog, show one picture of their logo on the screen, or if it's some other printed material, and just list what you need to. Honestly, anything is appreciated. They just want you to know that they're valued and that they sponsored you for a reason and you appreciated it and you did exactly what you said you would do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Do you guys have any more questions? We can stay for a few minutes.
Wait a second. There were some other things I wanted to say. Just one more thing. One festival during the event that we did at the Art House Convergence, someone said that they do an awards show. They always do an awards show, and that they're important to their community and their sponsors. And for some reason, it's the most important thing to them out of everything that they do, is that they want a moment on stage to give out an award. So if you have multiple awards with different sponsors on them, let them go on stage and give the award out. It is just something that they usually absolutely adore.
Even if they're not sponsoring the award or giving any cash money, it doesn't matter. You just let them go on stage and give out.
No, I'm saying if they sponsor it, yes, absolutely. No,
right.
They have to sponsor the award.
What
you're saying? No?
No, I'm saying, do they have to, like, or do you just, like, if there's no reward money, there's just like, best picture, but no reward money, do you just, award money? Do you
I don't know. I don't know if the sponsor would do that. They would feel sort of like, wow, here I am on stage. I own a company and I'm giving something out just to give it out, but I'm not giving anything. No, I think they have to give it something that goes along with it.
But it can also be in kind. Like we've had awards where it's like,
yes.
They give out finishing fun, post-production studio time, whatever, or editing day time.
Absolutely. They may say, it could be a local media, local cable access, and they could give the short film winner the opportunity to show the short.
Right.
Couldn't really do that with a feature, obviously, but they could say, hi, we plan to show your short 4 times on these dates, and they can decide if they want it or not, but it's really kind of nice.
Right.
In their local community. Could be just for a local student filmmaker award or something. There's so many things you can come up with that are meaningful to so many people.
But this is actually a related question, and I'm sorry, but how do you feel about having awards, just your regular festival awards, if you don't have cash for them? Because my view, like Silver Docs, when it became AFI Docs, they took out the competition, which was problematic. And it was because they didn't have enough money to give reasonable, amounts. I'm just like, we have a reputation. I would imagine that filmmakers would prefer to have the laurels and be able to say that they won versus not having anything. But, that's not how people felt. And obviously that, I could be wrong about that, but I'd love to know your opinion.
Well, my opinion as a producer, all awards are good awards. Yeah, cash, right. No cash, you want bragging rights in general to say, we won XYZ award, period. So I would never feel shy about offering filmmakers something without giving them something. I would say the sponsor would feel weird if they're
this would not be with a sponsor. Yeah.
Right. No, I definitely feel you should always give awards. People love the awards, and it's important. You want to be able to market your film for a reason. So it doesn't hurt you to pick some. It could be staff award. It doesn't have to be a jury that you bring in. It could be local community leaders who want to, I don't know. It all depends on what your community is like. You can make it up. But the point is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a jury. The staff can choose the awards. It's just nice. It's a moment that is sponsorable that you could do that really doesn't cost anything, especially if you do it in the theater. You already have, that you've already just done screenings in. So it's just a way for people to gather. Yes.
I have a few comments here. So one says, Alan says, I started giving the sponsors the banners with their logos on them when they exclusively sponsor an event or film as a keepsake. That's nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Josh says, thanks for sharing. Great ideas. And then Alan says, he says the filmmakers do want the laurels, and the festival exposure the filmmaker gives you with your laurels is invaluable and continuing, which is true. And then there's another thank you. So.
Oh, great. Well, I hope this was helpful, and I will get a wrap report together that we can post. And I want to thank Josh Leek for tweeting all of this.
He is our best tweeter.
You are a machine. I'm just seeing, my phone kept dinging and buzzing, and I couldn't imagine what was going on. So thank you for doing that in real time. I love you. So thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope it was helpful. And again, we're always here to help and ask questions. So please don't feel shy to call any of us on the festival forum.
And we are recording this, so we will, again, put it up. We usually put them up on YouTube. And so we hope that you guys were here. But if you want to follow up, we'll have some, takeaways. So hopefully we can get some documents together for you too. And that'll be great. Thanks,
Great.
everybody.
Thanks, Kristen and Jody and Chris.
Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye. I don't know how to get out of here.
Leave meeting.
Oh, there we go.
Call me on my cell.